Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're doing a little bit of a deep dive and a more proper showcase over here for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, it's gonna be a little bit more of a technical type video, but I have a lot of video to go and show you guys, and a lot of cool specifics to get to go and highlight too as well. So if you guys will sit back and enjoy it. But when it comes to PS5 Pro, we have a few different brand new concepts I've been trying to elaborate on and kind of showcase on a little bit more. And thankfully over here, Digital Foundry had a chance to go and showcase up a lot of the specifics I mentioned in a prior video as of yesterday. So as you guys probably know, there's a big upgrade when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro in regards to PSSR, which is the AI integration, and as well certain things for ray tracing. And I try to highlight this in a separate video, but I think this actually might be the perfect way to showcase it, where ray tracing itself is a lot of various different types of elements involved in the technology that can be, I guess, essentially accentuated in different ways, such as, once again, maybe showcasing up lighting on, say, your car's lights, which would be going throughout the map and kind of have a cool, on the ground or a nighttime effect, or things like rain, things like water effects, things like clouds, things like more cars, whatever. Basically, you can kind of go and pick and choose what you want to go and have, and that's what we're going to go and highlight and showcase up as of today, where there is a chance for the PS5 Pro to see massive improvements on individualized certain ray tracing elements, and as of right this second, also with the PSSR, and I think this is the perfect video to go and showcase, so let's go and showcase it. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We also do have our PS5 Pro giveaway, so subscribe for that. Here, the second channel, the Twitter's down below, and the Twitch link, just click them all, get the easy follow for the bonus entries to get you guys included, and also have the PS5 Pro affiliate links down below. Thank you guys for everyone who's been picking those on up. You guys are all fantastic. Let's go and dive on into the video itself. So as I mentioned, there's been a lot more kind of big upgrades when it comes to PS5 Pro and the PSSR. And right now, they actually do even more hands-on testing. And I know we've kind of been doing a lot of individualized testing, but as more and more information comes out, I feel like people should know about it. So that's why we're talking about it. But right now, they did it with the F1 24 game. It all was fully tested with the PS5 Pro. And they've had a chance to go and show that the ray tracing and the PSSR basically just have huge, massive visual quality improvements. They have way better 120 hertz support, and also even pushing for 8K TV stuff, and a lot of this stuff is also very cool to see in regards to the ray tracing elements. Now, graphically, it still is nice, don't get me wrong. The one big thing to kind of go note is that the fact that we're seeing this big AI improvement and ray tracing improvement is really what's the big key factor. So they're saying Codemasters makes its first push for the PS5 Pro support with an update to F1 24. And that release adds ray tracing upgrades and integrates the machine's PSSR upscaling, which is pretty much the baseline for most of these big upgrades, but it's cool to see what is being changed on each integration. Of course, F1 24 already has an impressive set of modes on the regular base PS5, including support for 120 FPS gaming, and the same quality performance divide remains on the Pro, but with a range of enhancements now for each. There's also a new resolution mode that unlocks only when the Pro is connected to an 8K screen, and we went hands-on at the studio on the PS5 Pro development hardware, and while the code wasn't quite final, the upgrade is clearly impressive, particularly in the 60 FPS quality mode, where the Ego's engine ray tracing features are used extensively. And also, I do want to highlight a lot of this PSSR will get better over time with more machine learning. The more people play and utilize this on the PS5 Pro, as it's open up to the masses, the better it will get. So a range of ray tracing upgrades are in place, and this is where the big push I keep mentioning, where ray tracing can be individualized and selected in different manners to make it even better, kind of spread out throughout a bunch of different options, and even some options we may not even know even exist as of yet. So whereas the standard PS5 Pro quality mode only use ray tracing in replays and pre-ray sequences, the PS5 Pro changes all of that, in large part thanks to the leeway afforded by its more capable GPU, a 67% increase in compute units, and 28% boost in memory speeds. It's now possible to include 3 ray tracing features during the race itself, all while still making and running a 60 FPS experience. So once again, I keep saying, ray tracing has multiple different types of usages. So just blanket ray tracing isn't it's cool, yeah, but you want to have individualized different types of ray tracing. I keep on using examples, but imagine you have a light, like a dock, you have a light on, say, a boat, you have a light in a random shed, and you will have that shadow effects from that light that might be moving side to side or whatever. But then you also have cool water effects that will be utilizing ray tracing with different reflectatories for, say, the moon. So if you have a lackluster GPU, you can only maybe pick 1 or 2, but with this, with a better GPU and better AI, you can launch a lot more various things at once, and then all combined will make the game look way better. They're saying there's ray traced reflections, including opaque materials like glass, alongside ray trace ambient occlusion for more realistic indirect shading and dynamic diffuse global illumination, or DDGI, allowing for simulated light bounce between surfaces. The one ray tracing option missing during gameplay is ray trace shadows, though those are enabled during in-engine cinematics. So basically comparing this to the PS5 to the PS5 Pro, the ray tracing upgrade for reflections is a substantial one. The overcast afternoon sky is more accurately reflected across the glossy surface of the car and even on the driver's helmet. And that's just one individualized aspect of how the ray tracing can be even cooler. As well, each surface is more thoroughly lit in daylight, as would be in a real race. The other classic example of ray trace reflections is on wet track surfaces. The base PS5 uses a screen space method, or SSR, to draw reflections, where every roadside barrier and overhead billboard is vibrantly mirrored across the tarmac. Except the result is often exaggerated, and while the SSR works well, it doesn't simulate the way real-life light reacts, and basically just don't have a chance to go and fully do it. So I'm going to highlight a few of the things over here from the video, which is kind of the more important stuff over here, and you guys can kind of go and see some big differences. Let me go maybe make my webcam a little bit smaller. Don't mind me being mini over here, but some of these things might be harder to go and fully see, but you just have more of a proper example of having, say, your car having way better reflections. And it might be very, very minimal. Maybe try to go look at some stuff like, say, like I was going to go and say, like on here, like imagine like these blue lines where my mouse cursors are. You have just a more proper light that will be going through it and reflecting more properly throughout the entire experience. The car itself will look nicer. And sometimes even just having things like in the background look a lot more clearer. And like this is kind of a harder one to showcase because some of these are like, you know, it's just racing games. It is what it is. But it just basically has the overall lighting effects look nicer, makes the colors look better, and just makes the overall experience a little nicer. Now, sometimes these are harder to go and show on videos per se, but maybe a good example is like look at the depth of the colors, look at the reflections of it, and maybe a first party cabin view over here might be a better example. We can kind of basically see like the lights. You see like stuff reflecting. Like maybe a good example over here, if you guys can look through this, is like you can kind of see a lot more like the reflectory lights and make everything a lot more immersed in the gameplay experience too. And I think it's nice to see. Like you want to see this stuff. You want to see the games and the cars look more vibrant, more shiny. And like I said, it might be hard to go and see in terms of video per se, but like the concept is there, is that you have way more ray tracing elements, like things like, say, like these trees that you're kind of racing through, make things a lot more easier to go and see. A good example too is like the water effect, sometimes going through this, sometimes actually seeing the map, seeing the reflections from the water. It basically just making a lot more things look a lot more realistic, for lack of better terms, and I think that's a big deal for a lot of folks. Now, sometimes it is kind of hard to go and see, don't get me wrong, but sometimes we're also even seeing things too as well, which by the way, a lot of crypto random sponsors throwing it into this one, for people to kind of go and see like basically the difference. And this I think was maybe a good example over here. You guys can kind of see, let me kind of go back to that flashpoint over here, but it kind of goes and shows just like the difference of like how the background is looking too. Sometimes it looks a little bit more like, it looks like there's more stuff kind of going on. It looks more defined, and like it kind of just feels like you're more inside the racing experience rather than like a shoddy one-dimensional color. Now, once again, don't forget, it's like the craziest improvements known to man. But kind of going through this, there was a really, really big jump between a lot of these other various aspects of all these races. Now, once again, it's kind of hard to see in these videos. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, someone makes a comment on that, I'm going to respect it. Like, I totally get it. But one of the bigger things is that you have things like the PSSR, which also kind of sets the standard of the resolution higher. Same with ray tracing. So kind of one thing they kind of broke down to the video, I'm trying to like paraphrase here a little bit, is that they also have the highest standard of resolution higher, basically utilizing with the PSSR, having a chance to reconstruct 4K and also sometimes 8K gaming. So yeah, it might not be the biggest difference in terms of pure resolution, but of what you actually get in comparison, say like a 1080p baseline versus like a 4K baseline, it makes the PS5 Pro a lot nicer in the comparison between the two. Now, once again, like I kind of wish I could find more fine-tuned, easy examples, but kind of more so things like the overall environment looks more realistic. The lighting looks more realistic. And this is kind of more close to what you'd probably go and get from an actual race experience. Now, this is a really weird one to go and show, and hopefully you guys can see it because it's like just more of the immersive side. This is a good example of the light reflectories for ray tracing I mentioned, where they can have really just default like lines over here, but how they kind of make this a little bit better is the full car body. So this is probably the best thing I can maybe highlight over here if you guys kind of, you know, follow along. If you look at this, it basically just has kind of long lines from the wheels. Like look at this one car where my mouse cursor is. You have these long shadows from the wheel, long shadow from the wheel. But that's not how real life works. Real life, you'd also have like the shadow from the body of the car. You'd maybe have like your helmet as well. And it's kind of what gets a little bit more added on this actual ray tracing vibe. This is like the environmental ray tracing, where it just makes everything, these are very small improvements, don't get me wrong, but this is what we want to have for the future of games. And you have like, say like 5 or 10 or 15 of these different elements, it'll make the game look a lot better. Now, this might be one of those harder ones to go and see, as I mentioned, but it just makes something look a lot more realistic in how these things kind of go and work on out. And as well, obviously too, you have way better frame rates, very better quality and all that. But I think the bigger aspect is just that ray tracing is adding so much more actual environmental, like basically things for like the lights, the water, like the, you know, actual like the lights themselves from your car itself. And like it just kind of makes the whole game experience a little bit more involved and more in depth and makes it seem like more of a realistic experience. And I think that's what kind of makes things really cool. Consistent frame rates, higher baseline to 4K, potentially hitting 8K, utilizing PSSR and having more ray tracing elements to make the outside environments look nicer as you're driving on by, like this town right over here. And as well, also making sure the frame rates are good, better lighting effects, better cloud effects, better like basically reflections from your car, and just trying to make everything you can to make the game seem a little bit more better overall. So I hope you guys kind of saw the vibe I was going for. It's kind of hard to go and showcase on some of it, so if you guys don't mind, and make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch room down below if you guys want to follow. We have the PlayStation, we have the Twitch, we'll probably be live if you guys want to say hi, and all that good stuff, the giveaways, etc. down below, and I appreciate y'all for watching here in the first place.